Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a bright future. By feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with this unique gift.
All right, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm featuring also the SOS, the shout out show. Hope that you're having a wonderful Wednesday. Maybe that's what we should call the show, a wonderful Wednesday. I don't know about you, but I woke up this morning and just gave thanks that I woke up on this side of the dirt, not on that other side of the dirt. And even speaking of that, brothers and sisters, I want to give a shout out. We had some catastrophes. We had earthquake in Afghanistan. We wish those people in that country who've gone through so much, we wish them speedy relief and blessings and any kind of relief that we can offer on the shout out. We will be doing that as well. Anybody that's having a hard time, this is Hump Day Wednesday, and feel free to tune in. Today's topic, brothers and sisters, I'll just jump into it. We're talking about how to break profitable business concepts. Profitable business concepts. I'm going to give you some of the keys from what I've learned in terms of breaking concepts. I am a concepts guy, so just so we can get that out there clear, total transparency. I am a concepts guy. I am a guy that sees something, weighs what something looks like, does a little forecasting projection, and can come up with a model. There are a lot of guys who are concept guys, just like myself. Some are really good, some are extremely good. But I've had this skill set for quite a long time. Ironically, my skill set is in developing concepts in terms of social justice and also in terms of social transition. I said social justice in terms of social transition. How do we move people? So I've developed projects on issues of race identity politics, Muslim identity issues, Islamophobia, things like that. And I hope you're doing much more in the media space. And you are part of the media space, if you will. If you're here on the Shout Out Show and you are part of the Shout Out Show family, you are part of a business concept that has a lot of historical implications. And I thank you if I don't thank you enough. Okay. So the whole thing about how to break profitable business concept is going to require a little bit. This might be part one, and we have to do a part two, part three. But I have to have us in a space very calm. We have to break some habits. We have to break some habits. I used to think that, it was people of color had to break the habits. No, people of color have to break the habits because there are people who are not people of color who have not broken the habits. And therefore, it becomes really, really difficult to kind of expand and do what you want to do. Things like Warren Buffett, people like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates have mastered this scope of making sure that they don't fall into bad habits or they don't associate with people who have these bad habits. Okay. Now, this show is going to be quick. I'm going to limit the amount of commercials, if you will. But I also am going to tell you the scope about why we use commercials here on the Shout Out Show. Because I believe we should have an open format and I should be totally transparent about everything I do. But we're talking about stuff, brothers and sisters. I'm talking about things because I want us to be benefactors. I want us to do things and build things. Be honest, we're in a war economy. They're not telling you right now we're in a war economy. It's going to lead to a recession. We'll be in a recession for about 18 months to 2 years. So it becomes incumbent on us to try and develop models of how we're going to do, you guess it, concepts and develop programs and units of revenue. You have people on the show right now. Sister Ree, during COVID, she went to developing food. She had a catering service. Well, a catering service, we used to joke because she would send me food and I eat the food and I talk about the food on the air. And then she was like, okay, cool. And I was totally pleased when she was like, I'm going to do a catering business. That is looking at how you build a profitable business concept. So let's go ahead and get the show started. That's number one. Stick around. This will be a good show, inshallah. I'm going to give you guys not so much tricks of the trade, just some things to think about in the scope of how you can develop profitable business concepts. And let me explain something to you. People think of profits just in terms of revenue. No. Profits, really, in terms of real profit, is the thing that allows you to network to develop larger revenue, larger opportunities. Sometimes that $100 that you chase, if you left it alone and really chase the bigger picture, you can be having $1 million, $100,000. All right, let's talk about that. We'll be back here on the ShOUT Show. Let's get it ripping. All right, we are back. We have a little bit of news. We're going to get some prayers out right now. I'm going to start with my sister. She says, prayers, please. D is sick. Brother Derek is sick. And I'm trying not to be on my birthday tomorrow, but she's not feeling well. So you have prayers coming to you, Sister Ree, and also prayers coming to you, Brother Derek. That whatever it is that ails you, we pray that Allah increase you in your health, your spiritual health, your mental health, and give you shifa and a quick recovery. Okay? All right. So thank you so much for letting us know. And we're going to go ahead and get up to the top here. We got Sister Mary Moss, better known as Mama Son, saying, hey, SOS family, have a great day. We're trying to have a great day. I had a great conversation with Mom earlier. Thank you so much for your time and your guidance. All right. I want to give a shout out to Brother Eric Carter. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My brother, thank you so much for tuning in. Your presence is always appreciated on this platform. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. All right, and this is my little brother, JT. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What's going on, little Bach? Thank you so much for tuning on your program, man, coming on the program, and I just enjoy when I see you on the spot. I just think of all the good times. When I talk about business concepts, I want you guys to know, one of the things I talk about is have a focus group for your business concept. JT has been one of my focus group people for, I got to say, almost the last 25, 30 years. I've taken concepts to him, good, bad, and in between. And he's seen me work on them. So, I wish I could bring him on the show, but he's been there for me in that capacity. Shout out. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Ika coming all the way from Depok, Indonesia. She's up early this morning to catch the show. Hope you're doing well, Sister Ika, Shafiq, Nadifa, your whole family. And I hope that your sister-in-law is doing much better. We pray for you and hope that everything's good. All right. Thank you so much. And all tough Rashid, better known as Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down. Our brother from across the border, Toronto. We call him the Canadian ambassador to the show. He's just a special guy, man. He tunes in every day. You talk about consistency, man. You're talking about one of the things about building business concepts is consistency. All right, so we're gonna get rolling on the show. I think that Sister Sonia Salahuddin Dalton and her husband Bilal will tune in on the show if they're not cooking. Oh, I just brought his name up. What's going on, Bilal? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, your brother ShOUT had surgery yesterday. We did something at the top. May Allah give brother ShOUT shifa and a quick recovery, and bless those who are attending to him as he goes through that process. All right. Shout out to Sister Sonia as well. So where do we start? People say when I'm trying to break a profitable business concept, first of all, you're trying to break a business concept. You don't know whether it's going to be profitable or not. If you're worried about the revenue at the top of it, you're not going to do your best work. A lot of times when you were coming up with ideas, you have to understand that you were dealing with the currency of the possible, the currency of possibility of possibilities. That things that you develop right now may not actually be the thing that you are actually looking for. In the world of modern medicine, a lot of things that were developed, brothers and sisters, for particular diseases, they didn't cure those diseases, but they wound up curing major diseases. A lot of you guys may know that the original retrovirus for HIV, AIDS was actually a retrovirus they were trying to do for cancer. It didn't work for cancer. And when AIDS presented itself, they had this retrovirus, and just that idea that it was there and somebody was working on it probably saved millions and millions of lives, because they didn't have to worry about 3 to 5 to 6, 7 years of development of a retrovirus to deal with the problem. I'm one. Like I said, you are building a concept. Whether it becomes profitable is what happens when you put it in the marketplace. Now, there are certain things you can do that can increase profitability, but it's profitability for the idea, not profitability in the necessarily in the marketplace. We need to talk about that. A lot of people are spooked by the idea that I can put something out there and it could fail miserably, but they're not inspired by the idea that I can put something out there and it can fail miserably and still be successful. Because projects sometimes are in their natural state, in their natural space or the original form. You have to understand it requires iterations. It will get better. If you look at the first car that was ever built, or the first plane that was ever built, it was a death trap. But people deemed it a success. Why? Because you can make improvements upon whatever that one model is. And so I want people to focus on what that one model is going to be. Whatever it is that you want to do, write it down on a piece of paper. But break it down to its most basic essence. The theme, as we talked about yesterday, the opening scene for your product. What do you want it to be? I'll give you guys an example. I'm on Instagram because I had a couple minutes after I folded my clothes, doing my wash. I'm on Instagram and I'm flipping through it and I see this ad. And this ad is for, the caps that you put on your tire. Well, you put the caps on the tire, so whatever, so the air doesn't leak out. Okay, you guys know what I'm talking about. Somebody decided to change not the caps in terms of its function, but change the caps in terms of its appearance. And what they did was they got fluorescent caps. So now when you put the caps on and you're driving late at night, they light up. And so it looks like light in the tires. Now people going, oh my gosh, simple invention, simple modification. They didn't create a new cap. They found a new function for the cap. That's aesthetic. And that aesthetic and caps, you can normally go to AutoZone or Track Auto and get these caps on the cheaps. These caps, because they glow in the dark and they have different colors: red, yellow, green, blue. These caps are now $15.99. Will people buy them? Yes. Why? Because people are conditioned to love aesthetics. And this brings light to the tire. It only happens at night. You can have a hoopty, but your tires look good. You see what I'm saying? So let's get back to the first thing that I talked about. What is the theme of your concept? When we are talking about a business concept, let me give you some derivatives that you can work with. Several. I have a bunch of them, but one of the derivatives that you work with is the fact that somewhere, someplace, somebody needs your product. That's number one. Number two, somewhere, someplace, somebody's thinking of the same type of product you're trying to develop. So always believe that you are in competition with somebody somewhere. Thus, that should be the drive to get them. And because you're in competition with somebody someplace else, or wherever, you also have now the inspiration to create something unique about your product. Now, I said earlier that we have to break some habits. I'm gonna tell you some of the habits we have to break. Because this is number two. I talked about the other person, number three. Number one, your product. Number two, someone wants your product. Number two, somebody's making the same product. And number three is that you have to break how we've been indoctrinated, how we are inspired to not believe in our own abilities, in our own creative capacity, if you will. And it's tied into business models. It has been tied into business models for years. And this is what I mean. We have been trained, for lack of a better word, to believe that we have to engage ourselves with systems that are not necessarily helpful for us in terms of a financial aspect or financial awareness or consciousness. Per se, during COVID, I had to deal with the fact that I had a big balloon payment on my second mortgage. The normal fallacy is that you have to get everything refinanced. Get it refinanced. I'm a comedian. I have what they call comedian credit. While I make, alhamdulillah, a good living On my taxes, I write everything down. Normally, in the underwriting process, they would understand what you're doing. They would add it back on, and then you get your loan. But they didn't do that because of COVID and the economic situation that was going on. I don't blame it. It is what it is. But I went through a process of trying to deal with these people, finance and refinance and da da da. And an original thought came in my head, which was of all the options that are out here and people trying to give you business credit, one option was, what if you just raised the money and paid off the second mortgage and not get into another one of these predatory relationships with a bank that has absolutely no skin in the game, whether you can pay this loan or not. It's a debt relationship. And I said, I can do that. And it led me to do other things, step up the production company, expand what I was doing in terms of just a shout out show, getting cameras, getting studios, selling business concepts that I thought were valuable to people who thought were valuable too, and being able to pitch effectively. That goes back to what we were talking about yesterday about understanding that open scene and the theme. So essentially, I had to become a lot more astute about my theme. When we're talking about profitable business concepts, here's the thing. Everybody's going to not necessarily think that your business concept is profitable, feasible, valuable, accessible, all at the same time. The only person that thinks that way is you. And you have to understand that it requires patience because everything is not going to come at all the same time. This is a part of it. But I started out by saying earlier, and I want to make sure that I don't overlook this. I said we're in a war economy. And as much as we talk about gas and things like that, we are in a tailspin whereby, yes, we're going to be in a recession. They predict recessions 2 years out. 2 years ago, they predicted a recession. Now, it had nothing to do with Ukraine or Russia. It's just, this situation has exacerbated it. But that we live in a world of contagion. That prices will go up for something just because they went up over there. So if a shirt in the UK costs $30, it used to cost $10. Someone over here goes, well, my shirt is $10, should cost $30 too. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just that people, they act the same way. If you're in a train about to jump off the track, everybody says, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And then one guy goes, well, maybe if we know the train's going to jump off the track, maybe somebody should slow the train down, or maybe we should jump off. Nobody thinks that way. I should say not enough people think that way. So when we also get into this piece, brothers and sisters, about breaking, and I'm going to tell you something, breaking, not necessarily executing, but breaking a business concept, you are going to need, as I said earlier when I referred to JT, you need a focus group. You need a group of people who like you, who are very honest with you. You might have a couple people in there who don't necessarily like you, who are haters. They're very valuable because a hater will tell you everything that's wrong with your project for free. I got a bunch of haters. I keep them on the phone all the time. I call them just to make sure they're still hating. My point is having contrast and how people see your project gives you a lot of intel in terms of feasibility. One of my favorite guys, I had a picture of him, but I didn't put it up today. Reginald Lewis. He was the owner of Beatrice, and he introduced the whole idea of the leverage buyout. And the leverage buyout is something of a model I still use because when you're developing a concept, brothers and sisters, make sure you're not just building a house, right? You're not just building a house. You're building a house that has nuances to it. So if you have a house and it's a well-constructed house, then within that well-constructed house, just like your concept, you should have pieces of it that are valuable too. When you think of a house, you say, oh, it's got a lot of square footage, but what do they show you when you walk in a house? They show you the bathrooms. They show you the living rooms. They show you the dining room. They show you the washroom. They show you the garage. This is called compartmentalization. They make you fall in love with aspects of the house whereby in some point in time, you're not able to do a general summation about the overall cost of the house. You will literally say, I just love that. I love the pool. I love what they did with the back. The house may not be worth what they're asking, but They have appeal to your emotional and your aesthetic, where you're willing to pay for. We pay for cars all the time. Like, it's a beautiful car. It's a wonderful car. But you can't drive it anywhere. Gas is what, $900 a gallon. This car gets seven gallons, 7 miles to the gallon. And people don't care. They just want it. That speaks to us. But, and I'll be careful here, but when you break a concept, start with why you think it won't work. Start with why you think your concept won't work. Not why it will work, why it won't work. And somehow spend time and energy and arguments trying to figure out how you can make it work. How you can take a negative and turn it to a plus. Don't start a plus and try and turn it to a plus. That's ridiculous. It's a waste of time. When I start with concepts, I look at veritably why they won't work. Or I look at other examples of why they didn't work and I break them down. This, brothers and sisters, is a skill that's invaluable. Just like I talked about the house. A person doesn't sell a house. You sell all the ambiance of the house, the rooms, the lawn, and all that stuff. They have all kinds of terms, curb appeal, and you know, it's an open floor plan. Da, da, da. These are all terminologies that have been developed over the years to kind of get you away from the fact that in the end, this is a house. So look, we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to be back. Don't you guys move. This is Shout Out Show. We're talking about how to break profitable business concepts here with Preacher Moss. Assalamu alaikum. Hey, babies. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear. I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just got to hear, don't get the COVID.
Don't get the COVID. Put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe. And your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID. You need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying.
All right, I cut the commercial. Don't get the COVID commercial. Why? I'm going to tell you why we do commercials here on the Shout Out Show. And I'm going to, and again, shout out. So here, what's going on? I had to put them up on the screen. Let me tell you why I cut the commercial. Because commercials are an integral part of any type of media system. You have to sell soap is what they used to call it. You hear about soap operas back in the day. These programs, soap operas, the reason they were called soap operas is because they help people and they sell soap, detergent, hand soap, things like that. Well, here on the Shout Out Show, we realized that we needed a commercial in 30 minutes. Why? Because the viewer has been trained to watch media in the context of TV. There's a formula for a half-hour show. You have 22 minutes of content and you have 8 minutes of commercials. If it was an hour, you have 44 minutes of content and you have 16 minutes of commercials. The commercials guide and move you, brothers and sisters. They give you emotional release. They give you a break from watching the screen. They allow you to get up and go and do other things, but it also has a drawing power to have you come back to the seat. See, before they had, streaming services and Netflix and Hulu and all of that, when you watched television, you were a prey. You couldn't pause the television. You couldn't pause it. You couldn't skip commercials. You had to sit through the whole thing. And you used to run and break your neck to use the restroom and come back, or pray and come back and make sure that you don't miss anything. Because there's no such thing as DVR and recording the shows. You would have to wait. Yeah, if it was 22 episodes, you have to wait 21 episodes to see the one that you missed. Okay. Why is that a great business concept? Because they intertwine themselves with entertainment, which was desperately looking for capital to do distribution. See, all movies, but most movies that go out, if they're very, very popular, they'll have a run cycle. But after that run cycle, they will go back in the day, they have a run cycle. They go in the movie theaters, then they come out VCR to your home, and then eventually they get to your TV for free. These days it's different because you have video on demand and stuff like that. And you have direct to video type of stuff that goes straight to distribution channels. Why is this important? Because somebody realized that every film is not going to be a good film. Every TV show isn't going to be a good TV show, but it doesn't matter because if I'm showing you a commercial, I'm not concerned about the other 22 minutes of content. I'm concerned with just those things. If my commercial is better than your shows, God bless it. So we only have a few minutes. This is definitely going to be a part 2. I talked about 1, understanding that somewhere, somebody wants your product. 2, somewhere, somebody is thinking of the same idea that you are. I had that happen with a treatment. Somebody just told me somebody's thinking about the exact same idea. And what was my complaint? My response was like, oh, they're copying. Nope. It's like, yo, I beat people on nuance, and so will you. Number 3 is have a focus group. Have a focus group. And number 4, when you're trying to break a concept, an idea, a business concept, start with the reasons your concept won't work. Use that as a foundation because you're saying, I know everything that's going to work. Okay, fine. You'll find that when you're doing that, the reverse, if you will, the converse, saying, let me figure out why my idea won't work. Those are going to be the things that benefit you foundationally moving over. In fact, that practice a lot of times will kind of help you find the cracks in the whole idea where you think this is why it'll work. No, always be questioning your concept because it's better that you're spending a lot of time questioning your concept than your consumer trying to get out there and question your concept or the investor trying to question your concept. You do all the hard work in-house. When you take it out, let it be an aesthetic type of reaction for people. Let it be like those caps that go on the tires on your inner tube on your tires. Let it be like that. Let it be the shiny stuff they see. But in the middle of it, you have established a very, very solid business concept. So what we will do, I guess, maybe in another show, is talking about breaking the concept, but we're going to do A to B. A to B is getting the execution part of it and also setting up what they call almost like in Salesforce, a sandbox. Testing your idea in a sandbox, making sure that the things that are supposed to work the way they're supposed to, and the things that are not working, if you will, you're going to sit back and you're going to, of course, you're going to prepare those ideas and modify them as needed. So let me wrap up on this. I asked everybody at some point in time, just write out a concept that you've been thinking about. Workshop your concept. This is a word I'm going to use. You hear workshopping, you hear spitballing, but workshop your concept. Put it in the middle of a circle and start talking about all the pros and cons about your thing. What have you seen that's been like your product? There's a great book. It's a yellow book called $1 Million Mistakes or something like that. And it talks about all these multi-million-dollar companies that guessed wrong on what was coming down the pipe. My favorite one, of course, is Sony. Sony had all the apparatus to do the iPod, but they decided to keep making Sony Walkmans. And Apple comes down and said, wait a minute, we got all these files. And then they take the files and they made the first iPod, which eventually we talk about iterations. If it started as the iPod, I still have my old iPod. It was nothing but music, but then it's an iteration. Now it's the iPhone. It was the iPod, the iteration was the iPhone, and the rest is history. Why can't that be you? Why can't that be us? You know why? Because we're not breaking profitable business concepts. This is Preacher Moss here on the Shout Out Show. God bless. Listen, let's get some sponsors up here. I want to give a shout out to, hold a minute, man, my people here. My people here, absolutely. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. That is 202-508-3780. Again, that's 202-508-3780. Give a shout out to UsHub.tv. Again, that's UsHub.tv. They are coming up, and I will be the host of a new comedy special that's going to be shot in Washington, D.C. Keep your ears open and your eyes open for that coming down the pike. We got Van Online. Again, that's Van Islamic Graduate School. You can check them out at vanonline.org. Again, that's vanonline.org. And of course, you have Convenient Urgent Care with 3 centers. Go to convenienturgentcare.com. Again, it's convenienturgent.com, and you can actually check them out. Houston on Parker Road, Cypress, and Pasadena. And we don't want to forget, of course, our big sponsor for so many years doing great work. Brothers and sisters, man, make sure that you show some love for Islamic Relief USA. I will be with Islamic Relief USA in Orange County, Newport Beach, California. I will be performing on a boat cruise. So if I come back with a little tan, y'all know what happened. But if I don't come back at all, it means that your brother fell off the boat. Okay, have a blessed day. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Preacher Moss, remember, get out there and start breaking your business concepts, and we'll see if they're profitable or not. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.